What?
There are certain technical terms that you hear out there, but what else do you hear more than markets oversold or overbought? Well, down 10 out of 13 sessions, one of those outliers being a small up day. We're oversold. We're getting a pop. But will it just be another fade or not? We'll look at some earnings. We'll talk to Jeremy Schwartz at WisdomTree. It's Monday. It's pre-market prep.
Coming to you live from downtown Detroit, this is Benzinga's Pre-Market Prep with your hosts, Joel Elkanin.
This is a volatile puppy here, isn't it?
And Dennis Dick.
I'm bidding a penny. I'd buy that stock for a penny.
With everything you need to start your trading day.
Good morning, traders and investors. The market woke up on the right side of the bed. S&Ps are up 27.50 after that up open at 41.65 and a quarter. Dollar peeling back about a dime here at 106.28. Bonds down about a half a point, but just holding above the lows of the move. Crude down $1.09 at 84.44. Gold over 2K up 590 at 2004 and 40 cents. Silver back over 23. That's up 40 cents. Really nice on a percentage basis. That's 1.74% at 23.29. And Bitcoin knocking on the door of 35K here, up $965 at 34,920. Let's bring in Triple D. Triple D seems to be in a fast market this morning.
Yeah. Came in a little bit short, not great. I guess I got to read those stats that we go up every single Monday, so never be short coming in over the weekend. I just anticipate that we could have some escalations over the weekend, so obviously I was
Which
long
we
a couple
did.
war stocks,
Those
aren't working out.
Okay,
what's that?
All right. No. I mean, we closed on the lows for the week on Friday. We made the new daily low. So you're just going with the trend. And, the trend, like as I said, down 10 out of 13 days, 2 decent up days, 1 outlier. I mean, it's just going to be another day where, we've opened up in the green and we could bring Mitch in and he mentioned this too. We open up higher and we just fade all day. Seems to be a little bit more of a sustained bid out there today.
Mitch, what are your thoughts here? I mean, we've been talking about oversold markets for a little bit, but it doesn't seem to matter. They just, anytime we get any type of rally, it just seems to get met with more sellers here. Does that happen again this morning?
Yeah, I feel like, I would have been feeling a little bit more confident if we started down on the day versus starting up on the day, because a lot of the times we've been seeing the market, even when it starts up, it's like the extreme opposite out the gates. So we'll see what happens if we get like even just some pullback, right? Like just calculating like maybe Friday's low until we are now, maybe 50% of that, it comes back down to the prior range. Like Joel talks about this often. And then we'd see the bounce there. That's kind of like what I can expect now. So that would be chop out the open, not just necessarily one way. And I think that's what a lot of the bulls are also looking for like this quick reversal up. And I don't know if we're going to be able to get that. And am I feeling red? I mean, I think I'll change this light when the market wants to change tunes, right? I think right now it's still been a tough environment for stocks. And every time I've tried to play the bounce, especially last week, got wrecked to try to play.
Yeah, it's been tough. I mean, the seasonality plays say this is a good time to buy going into November. Seasonality, November, December, historically strong for stocks. We set up well for that too because we've been very weak going in. But what the real driver here, obviously, is still interest rates, but it's also what's happening overseas, what's happening with the war. There's just a lot of things to be concerned about. So it's a tricky market to call. Day to day, we still have macro headlines driving the bus here. We still have interest rates driving the bus. I mean, over the weekend here, TLT down here a little bit again. So I think, a little relief pop, Joel, that wasn't really escalations. Maybe overseas here helps the market, but we still don't have a sustained rally in TLT. And until we start seeing the bonds start to like, oh, like they're buying and they can't stop buying because we know they're massively oversold, that's when the equities are going to really sustain a rally here. But until then, I'm going to say it again, it's hard to get bullish stocks until the TLT starts rallying.
It doesn't look good this morning too, right, Joel? At least the TLT?
No, it's down. It's down 49 cents, and the bonds are down too. But I'm just trying to, I'm looking at the chart. I permanently put in there the Ackman bottom there. We're holding in that area. I don't think necessarily we have to have like a rip-roaring rally in the TLT. I just think we need to like stop going down. Barron's went big time. With
good
gosh,
Lord! This is what scared me. I saw
time to buy bonds.
Yeah,
they listed pre-market prep, but they took them a week and a half.
Joel, put that on the screen one more time. Put that on the screen one more time. I had to put you full screen.
I think they're going to be right here. I do think they're going to be right. I think it's going to be a time to buy bonds here, and I think that time, if you're got a longer time horizon, like super long, I think bonds set up way better than stocks.
We're agreeing with Barron's. Now I'm really scared.
But we got catalysts, and we'll go to the short-term catalysts today. Right now, we'll do the earnings in a second. But you can't ignore the fact you have the end of the month tomorrow, right? Halloween tomorrow. You have the Fed on Wednesday, right? And then a jobs number on Friday. I mean, if you look at it, the earnings, now I'm not talking about the earnings reactions to stocks because it's been all over the map, but so far the earning, I mean, this is the solar sector and some of these other things. I mean, it's been okay, but the sentiment has just been so negative that, even on a halfway decent earnings reports, the stocks haven't gone up. And we got the big dog on Thursday. Oh, plus Apple after the close on Thursday. So we got another one of the Magnificent Seven reporting, and the reactions have been.
Well, I guess NVIDIA is the last, but we've already had 5 of them, and it's been mixed. But the problem is, even the ones that went up didn't hold the gains that well. Can Amazon hold the gains? I guess Amazon still has. We talked about that 130 on Amazon. Holy mackerel, these technicals do work after the fact as well. Right on the button. 130, huge resistance. I mean, I just think, like, again, talking against my wife's RSP here because she has it in a long-term account, but there's just overhead supply everywhere there. I mean, what's the driver to just, take us up and start going 140, 160, 180? I mean, I just don't see that driver, and that's why it's really hard to just come in here and say, yeah, seasonality is going to take us back up, and, we're going to be really happy we bought stocks here. I think if you're buying stocks, I'd rather buy bonds. I'm with Barron's.
Now, one thing, of course, this week we'll have the FOMC meeting, right? And it seems like the CME Fed tool is saying 98.6% chance to stay on the current policy. Will we finally even get the mention that, we're on the pause, not that we could raise rates a little bit further down the line?
Oh, no. He's sticking with his mantra, and I don't know how the markets react to it, but they can't. They're not gonna give that fodder to the market now. We're selling off. It's been orderly. It's been brutal because it's been, you haven't had that washout day where you're like, oh yeah, this is it. It's just been trickle. So I don't think they're changing their stance at all.
I've said this before. Death by 1,000 cuts is sometimes worse than a crash, because in the crash, you wash everybody out. You get people just coming in. The death by 1,000 cuts just slowly erodes. Like, it's the erosion of buyers, where it's like, well, it's just going to go down tomorrow. I'm not going to buy it again. I'm not going to go buy. When you're up in the markets and then boom, you get that huge, like 10% drop. People are like, oh, this is my chance to get in. We've ruined, like, to a certain extent, a lot of people in certain stocks, not all stocks, but a lot of people just don't want to get in. All these stocks, like, especially, like, we keep picking on Kathy, but she's easy to pick on because the stock, her ETF just continues to make new lows. I mean, all of those stocks that she owns, it's the same thing. None of these stocks just crashed. They just slowly continued to leak. And then you look at Teladoc, one of her biggest holdings here. The slow erosion of capital from $300 when it was absolute insanity. $15 here now. I mean, this is way worse than a crash. The stock's down 95%. So it probably would have been better just to crash, and maybe, it'd even be, but a lot of these companies were just going down no matter what. They were just zombie companies, weren't making money. They were doomed, from a long time ago. But death by 1,000 cuts is sometimes the worst thing for the bulls.
Let's get to the stocks. The stocks. All right. So this is an interesting one here that I wanted to bring in, and one that caught my attention is that Apple will actually be having an event tonight. Did you guys know? Definitely don't miss it. There is a little bit of a sneaky event, the Scary Fast, October 30th event to roll out new Macs is expected at 5 p.m. Pacific time or 8 p.m. Eastern time. If you guys want to catch that, of course, catch that tonight. And they're going to be releasing the new Macs. I don't know if this is really going to increase their stock too much, but what do you guys think about that?
I got some inside information on Apple.
Hold on a second.
Actually.
I know they
got one. They got one sale of the iPhone 15 because my wife upgraded her phone. So we do have an upgrade. We do, and they're not cheap, man.
Oh, you went titanium?
Cheap. Yeah, titanium. Yeah, the whole shebang. She loves it. It's good. It hasn't burned the house down yet, which is good news.
When did she get
it? Thursday, maybe Thursday. I asked, and I went in to Rogers. I'm like, how do these sell? And he's like, we can't keep them in. So that's good news, So it sounds like there is people upgrading the phones. They always say that we can't keep them in. I think they can't keep them in because they don't send them very many. So I'm like, well, how many do you guys got? We got one of each. And we just got them. They don't send them out. Like the way Apple does is obviously you can order them online, but at these stores, they don't send them a whole pallet. It's like creates artificial demand because you can't get them. So, but it's good news. Can't keep them in. That's good news.
Well, I guess I don't know if this could be a double upgrade because Lisa got a new one.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
You do it to the 15 as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, holy, everybody's upgrading. Yeah, Apple's gonna blow it away.
I was like, she was complaining. I'm like, she's all because she complains about, I like this. I'm like, just get the newest technology. And like, I forced her when she went out. She got it, and I believe last weekend I think we went out tomorrow. I will say the Apple Store indicator is a little bit. I wouldn't call that bullish. I said, well, did you make it? Yeah, I go,
Wasn't
you make
that busy?
No. And I said, did you make an appointment? And she goes, no, they said you didn't need an appointment. So, I mean, it was still busy. So it was
I don't know about all that, Joe.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound too confident to me.
Well,
I want to hear lines out the door.
It's like an upgrade with a reduction in price target. Is kind of what it is.
The old neutral with lower price target.
But I will say I got a new Dell, and I got one.
Dude, you're getting a Dell.
I already got a Dell. I already got a new one.
That gap looks juicy.
I got a new laptop.
I'll say that.
I got a new laptop, and the other one I got, my shoulders got tired. I didn't get a big, I'm typing. So, man, they were so nice to me. I sent back the old one. They sent me a new one, and this thing is wicked fast. It's unbelievable. And the transition.
What's the processor? What's the chip?
You're asking him too much, man.
I'm asking the wrong person. He don't even know what chip he's got.
I just asked for like the biggest, fastest.
Did you go AMD or Intel?
Intel. I'm pretty damn sure. If it's Dell, it's Intel.
He has to luck. He doesn't know.
If it's Dell, it's Intel.
No.
This might be the old receipt. It works fast. That's all I know. It works, and it works.
Joel the techie.
I like
wicked fast. And don't forget,
wicked fast. Donkin Days.
Yeah.
Wicked fast.
Yeah. Okay. I guess McDonald's, the old raising prices of the burgers. I guess that's a good thing. Why don't we go to Mickey D's here?
Well, I should have known that too because I went to Mickey D's on the weekend, so I should have known they were going to blow it away because they got that extra sale from me as well. Man, we're driving all these stocks, me and you, Joel. Driving Apple, driving Mickey D's, like just driving those top line sales right here on Premarket Prep. Look at us.
Get your McNuggets before they run out, guys. McDonald's Q3 adjusted EPS $3.19. They beat the estimate of $3. McDonald's Q3 sales at $6.692 billion versus a $6.577 billion estimate. McDonald's Q3 global system sales increased 11%, and global comparable sales increased 8.8%. McDonald's expects 23 operating margin percent to be about 46% and expecting capital expenditures at $2.2 billion to $2.4 billion as they expect to open about 1,900 restaurants in 2023.
The best of breed in fast food. There's no doubt about it. Always
Well,
good of
well,
best of breed
stock-wise,
stock.
maybe not flavor-wise.
Wow. Yeah, I'm not sure, but I'm company-wise, so they figured out fast food. I mean, it's been the best of breed forever. P's 23, forward P's 21. It's more reasonable than it was. We'll say that. Give me a shout when McDonald's goes down to a P of 16 because I'm backing up the truck. So we got to fall another. If we fall another 20% from here, I'm not saying that's happening, but if it does, I'm backing up the truck because I ain't missing Mickey D's.
When's the last time Mickey D's has been at that valuation?
16 times? Oh gosh, I don't know, Joel. That's a good question. We need who has these charts? We need the PE chart, like it's charting as it goes along where the PEs are on these things.
I'm working on it. I'm programming it.
The PE chart, because I'd love to know the answer to that question too. It's been a long time since McDonald's has PE is 16.
Yeah, and I think that, of course, what affected McDonald's on this recent downturn was their mention from their franchise cost. If you guys remember, that's what knocked them down. They increased their franchise cost, and that started hitting them.
Boy, oh boy. Well, the pre-market high is first thing we'll pay attention to. That's 263.70. The thing that's tough about this chart is if you would have been trading this intraday and there would a strong market and you're going through 259.5, you'd be lifting offers like it's going out of sight, not even worrying about 260. So that's old resistance. I'd be if they could knock it down to those old highs. I mean, at least on a day trade, anyone that's shorting it off the open, that's a great area to hold. I'd love to see it come down here, fill the gap, build a bit above 260, and then work its way higher. On the dailies, not much up there. If you take out the pre-market high, your next daily high is up at 267.37, but. That'd be a big move for Mickey D's. I like trying to identify the support on this one instead of trying to pick a top.
All right. I was taking a look at that EPS, but let's keep moving. Let's get to On Semiconductor. Q3 adjusted EPS, $1.39, beat the $1.34 estimate. Sales of $2.18 billion, beat the $2.15 billion estimate. It just came in recently, so let me see if they gave some guidance. But for right now, that's what I got.
Sounds like something's up, down $4. So it sounds like the guidance was light if they did, or they said something that they didn't like. Expected revenue. So yes, guidance here, Mitch. Expected revenue 1.95 billion to 2.05 billion versus 2.18 billion estimates. So that is light. Adjusted EPS guidance for fourth quarter 113 to 127 versus 136. So light on the top and the bottom. You cannot be light on guidance. They don't care. They hit your stock no matter what your chart looks like.
Yep.
79.50, 79. That's a stock that's come from $111. What's the PE on this puppy? Let's just go check it out. Again, these are cyclical businesses, so they're tough to buy on valuation. PE forward is 14, but again, cyclical. So PE current is 19. I don't know. It's a stock I've never owned in my long-term portfolio. It's a company I probably don't follow closely enough to really give a fundamental analysis on.
Jay says it has a lot of solar exposure. So I
do that. That's good. That's good news.
Yeah,
that's good. That's good to know. Not good news for the company, but good to know. These solar companies, holy mackerel, that just is a disaster. I don't know. You see any levels? See anything we want to buy here?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe if you're short, 78.05 is your pre-market low, and I'll just go to this area here. Just a little bit of congestion. You don't have an exact number. Well, I guess I can give you 78 is kind of interesting. Parallels from May 24th and May 25th, right at the $78 area. So you got down there before. Also, I didn't. Excuse me. I didn't get them on. But this was one of the stocks that was presented at the University of Michigan stock. I think he got third, and and that was back here. That contest was back last year, and so made a pretty good call. I don't know if he actually got out of it. I can't remember. I believe that was in May is when that contest was. So had to move. Now pulling back. $78 area is what I like.
Let's get to SoFi Tech's Q3 adjusted
Oh.
EPS. Loss of 3 cents beats the loss of 7 cent estimate. Sales of 530.72 million beats the 512.47 million estimate. They expect fiscal year 23 adjusted net revenues of 2.045 billion and 2.065 billion on the high end. The prior range they gave was up to a high end of 2.034 billion. So now the lower end above that at an estimated before this 2.02 billion. So at least a good adjusted net revenue outlook. But this is not a company that I want to be touching in this environment.
Earnings fine, but zombie companies losing money, gets a 7% pop in a bear market. You know what I'm doing.
This was the last earnings report. Gapped up and then boom, I believe, came all the way down. There's some congestion here in like the 750, 760 area. So respect those. If not, you got a nice round number like $8. I don't know. It's a little different formation. Like if this was opening up like a buck or a buck and a quarter, I would say, oh man, really pay attention to the pre-market high, but it's not. It's only up 53 cents. Well, it's almost
$8.
8%.
I'd say
Yeah,
$8 major
$8.
resistance. Where do we get to pre-market? We haven't been up there, or have
No, we haven't even been up there yet. 750.
Yeah, there's his major resistance up 750 to 8. So hard to be a buyer at 738. I think you could have 40 or 50 cents, but I'm not going for that. And the problem is, again, bears in control. What do we do in bear markets? We sell rips.
Well, I'm seeing news come in, and I'd like to give thanks to the chat, like always. You guys help out and smash the like. I'll give Vishwas the comment here, and he mentioned about Meta offering the ad-free Facebook in Europe. So got to give definitely a shout out there. Facebook and Instagram to offer subscription with no ads in Europe. Of course, this is due to European regulations that are coming in. This is only the EU and Switzerland, it seems like. So what do you guys think about this as that affects Meta?
It's going to be chop. I mean, I think the earnings report gave us an indicator for what the stock is going to do for the next 2 months. It was the most choppy response to earnings that we have seen from any of them, where it went off 10 before the report, rallied 20, down 20, up 20, down, back down 20, gives the guidance, goes down to 280, then it comes all the way back to 300. Chop, more chop in store for Meta, fading everything in Meta. Fading depths, fading reps, fading it all. That's how I'm trading Meta.
Opening right into yesterday's high, pretty close to it. That was Friday's high, 299.31. And then you get that wide open range here between 300 and 310. I mean, if you want to use the same case that we've used for the market in the S&P, well, we came up, we didn't make a new high on the move, so that was a bear market rally that failed. You can look at Meta and you can apply that same thing. Well, it was one hell of a rally, but we didn't get back to the all-time high, so it could just be a bear market rally. See if it absolutely has to hold 300 here. If it doesn't hold 300, I think easily not easily, but get a look at that closing price at 96.73, 296.73.
Ugly. Oil just took another leg lower here, folks. So just keeping an eye on oil as we're doing these earnings here. USO down, XLE, which has just turned into an epic disaster. They bought it on the war and thought it was the worst. That was the top right there when Israel, obviously, escalation started to happen. We're leaking here too. I mean, Chevron. We should talk about Chevron. It gets an upgrade here today, Mitch, but this is an unbelievable sell-off for a company that
big.
is that like the
And
market cap getting destroyed here in 3, 4, 5 days since that Hess takeover is nothing short of incredible. We do have an analyst though buying the dip in Chevron money. Mitch, who is it?
Oh, that one you set me up on. I didn't have it. What do you have on
I was
Chevron
trying to
there?
stall, get you set up as long as possible. You didn't know where I was going with this. So
I did not know where you were going with this. And I have been seeing Chevron just to kind of mention.
Upgraded this morning by Bank of America. They are upgrading it to buy They obviously like the pullback here. I don't know if it's a valuation call, but we went from 170 to 144. There's not a lot of sell-offs in Chevron. They're like 18% in 6 days.
Yeah.
That is an incredible sell-off for a company this size. Is that right? Maybe my math is wrong. 170.
No, I was looking
No,
at
I think I'm
that.
right. I think I'm right.
Yeah.
At least from the top 170 to here, that's about 14, 15%. So somewhere between there, 14, 15. But this is why it's also so important to kind of turn really quickly. I was even long at 168 when I was looking for the 170 breakout there. I'm just glad off the deal on the day on Monday, I cut it versus hanging around on this and now looking at it being upset, right? And I think that this is the important thing. Be willing to not fall in love with your stocks in this environment and cut the losers quickly. Because if not, I could literally be holding the bag right now.
That's all environments. Cut those losers quickly in all environments. It's tough in a choppy environment because you're gonna get stopped out on everything too. So you almost have to widen the stops when it's really choppy and volatile like this. And the VIX is escalating, you kind of got to widen the stops. But it's still, that's the key to success in this business. It's not about what you make on your winners. It's about what you lose on your losers. I've said that before. That's the number one thing to stay in the business, in the trading business. And I've been in it for 24 years here now. I've survived not because I'm a genius. It's because I cut my losers.
They have a buyback going on too, and this is taken on.
Well, they're getting their stock cheap.
Yeah. No, well, they started it, and I can remember when it got the ridiculous pop because I don't know when it was. It might have been when it made its all-time high. So they're out there supporting the stock. We'll see if it can form a little bit of a base in here first. I wouldn't, just run out and buy it up 98 cents. On the other hand, if you're short, you got to think about bringing it in a little bit different style. The better level I like is a different style. It's this 105. I mean, keep using it until it works. And ExxonMobil, again, it came down to 105 and got a little bit of a pop. So a good level there in ExxonMobil. Real bad day on Friday, and just not to
it's going to
react
be a good short through that 105. So if Exxon can start going 104, I think you set up to 100. Sometimes it's just little setups like that. 105 has been support. People are buying it there. Support until it's broken. You start printing 104, you almost think it's going to 100 like soonish. So I'd say 104 gets you 100.
All right, let's get to an interesting conversation. I'll bring in the video here to talk a little bit about it. The UAW, of course, I'll give dimensions here. United Auto Workers and Stellantis have agreed to a tentative deal following roughly 6 weeks of targeted U.S. labor strikes. Ford deal, of course, included that 25 pay increase, and the very similar deal here for Stellantis. GM is the one that is caught out of here and still has no deal. But I will mention that Stellantis is now facing a strike in Canada. And this is one thing that I expect to continue to happen. I talked about this, how every labor union is going to be looking at these deals and thinking, well, why not us? Why not more?
And Money Mitch here, we saw the response to Ford on their deal. They got the pop. And then it closed at the lows of the day. Then it obviously reported earnings, and the earnings were disappointing. And now we're back, and we got into single digits. I mean, closed in single digits.
Yeah,
I mean, these strikes, as much as it's like they need to obviously keep making cars, and it's good news, the demand destruction that is going to happen in 2024, which the market is clearly predicting, is real. And I think there's going to be a lot less people affording to buy cars in 2024. I think there's going to be a lot less people buying new cars in 2024. I think you're going to see now these stocks getting squeezed, companies squeezed on both sides, and these PEs of 5 and 6 are going to look in the teens in a hurry.
$10 for the Ford. I mean, that going back to early 2021. So that was a good call by you, Dennis. I didn't think it. I mean, it went through 11, and they just blew through the entire 10 handle. 10's been support going back to all the way since early 21. You're down at the bottom of the range. You're going to need some big boys to step up if they're either taking new positions or adding the losers. GM still hasn't settled. That finally broke the monthly support, so that's not a good omen for Ford. Next monthly low on that is $25. Stellantis just kind of This, for some reason, I mean, this has moved and it's gotten hit, but it seemed to me it's hold up a little bit better. But if it
Yeah,
doesn't
for
hold,
sure. Held up
yeah,
really well.
yeah,
Look at where these stocks are. Look at
yeah,
Stellantis is still up, 50% from its October lows, where Ford is making new lows. General Motors is making new lows. So best of breed out of the big three, no doubt.
yeah.
From the stock performance, it's been Stellantis.
Yep. And I mean, all-time high here. I mean, well, at least off the 2018 high. So we'll see. I like that support in 18 in Stellantis, STLA. The
Just
old Chrysler, the old Daimler Chrysler. I don't know. They've had more DCX. What was the original symbol when it was Chrysler? Was it just C?
Well,
No, because that
C,
was C.
years ago you had C, yes.
Yeah.
And then Citigroup came
Oh,
over and took that over after Chrysler. Well, I think Chrysler, when they go belly up,
yep.
yeah. Well, then they went DCX,
and they went
right? Because it was,
DCX,
yeah,
and then they got
yeah.
bought out, and then
Yep.
Stellantis. So
Where's Lee
it's been
Iacocca when you need
a
him?
time.
What's this mean for the Tesla Dragon?
Oh
Hanging in
man,
here.
I still think you see more of them on the roads.
You
Tesla
do?
just has the margins. I mean, do we eventually have, people saying, well, if they're going to make $80 or $90 an hour all in at Ford and GM, I don't want to make 45 at Tesla. So I think, there
Exactly.
is going to be some squeezing of margins there eventually too. I mean, Musk has been pretty transparent here. And, he's, they're talking about advertising, we're talking different things. It hasn't been fantastic, like what he's talking, but the stock's been forgiven. Still trades at a lofty valuation, but again, this is, if you're talking car companies, Tesla's absolutely best of breed.
Hold him at
Yeah.
psychological 200 level, a couple lows in that area, tight range yesterday. I think that a lot of this will just be market dependent. Like if the spoos roll over, start heading towards unchanged on the day, I think Apple could, or Tesla is going to have a hard time holding these gains. If the S&P say, "Hey, we're going to have a good day. We're going to make a charge for 4,200," then I think the indexers will just buy this up. Inside day, so you should note that on Tesla, inside day on Friday.
And at least for me, it is historically oversold. So I wonder if we finally get the bounce. Of course, that doesn't guarantee today, but it's at a 15 reading. And of course, normally people look at 20 readings. So just to give you an example of how extreme it's down there. Let's get to some outlook on the earnings calendar. Of course, we got a lot of earnings that will be coming
What
through
one
this
earning we
week.
missed here, Mitch? Just before you go to the next ones, we missed WDC, and I think we should talk about it because it's up 11%. It's not only that; it's talking about breaking up into two companies. So there's a lot of headlines here. It just broke at 8 o'clock, which is why I missed it because we'd already started the show. But the earnings have come out here on WDC. I've got it up, so I'll just read it off here
Yeah,
too.
go for it, Dennis.
So yeah, so Western Digi, again, cyclical businesses here, so they're now losing money. They lost $1.76, supposed to lose $1.90, so I guess that's a beat. 2.75 billion versus 2.65 billion is a beat on the sales. The guidance, I see Q2 losing $1.35 to $1.05. They were supposed to lose $1.39. So I guess that's good news because they were beating there too, despite losing money in the revenue. But the major news here, which is driving the stock this morning, is they're going to form two independent public companies focused on data storage and growth in HDD and flash market. So talking about breaking up into two separate companies here. That's the headline that is driving the bus. WDC up 12% on this financial engineering.
Man, I don't know why it got killed a couple days ago. I don't know if that was just market conditions, but all these people are now getting their money back above 44.
Oh
So
yeah, selling.
44, you had a
Please.
daily high at 44.57, another high just above that. The pre-market highs right there. I mean, I don't know what more you could ask for, at least for today, if you bought this at 36, 37, 38, 39, or 40. So can't really identify support. Very hard, but resistance well defined. And just because they're splitting it up in two companies, that doesn't mean that either one of them is going to be that much more profitable. I mean, we've seen this before. I just wanted to go back. I know we're going to bring Jeremy on in a second, but just going back to the car industry, and I know I said this a long time ago, and it never happened. But man, could there be some consolidation? And I don't know who would buy who, or I know Tesla doesn't want to buy anybody, but just doesn't it make sense with the production facilities that those three companies have? I mean, I don't know if they're right to make EVs or anything. I mean, Michigan is supposed to be the largest battery producing state in the country by 2030. I don't know what the consolidation is going to be, but I don't know. I mean, because it doesn't seem like GM and Ford. I mean, Stellantis is a little bit better, but I don't know. Just something to think
I mean, there's
about
been
moving
so much
forward.
consolidation over the years in all of these companies here. I mean, is there consolidation out of necessity coming?
Yes.
I don't think we're at that point. I think it's something to think about later in 2024. It's possible, but again, I just don't want to own automobiles. I don't want to own automobile companies. Bringing it back to Western Digi, WDC. Oh, she wants to say hello. Hello, she's off to school. So
one more day before Halloween.
Yeah, WDC. She's late for school. She's got to go. They're going to be late for school.
Do they get tardy? You get so
I would
many
sell
tardies?
WDC, Joel. I'm with you here. 44 to 45 is all major resistance. People getting their money back. The thing was $36
Looks like
2
IBM,
days
man.
ago. Take the money and run, as Steve Miller would say.
This looks like IBM monthly chart, right? The only way I'd look at that chart is looking at that monthly chart, Joel. I don't know about you, but that's the only thing that seems to make sense on WDC. You see the pullback area on the monthly chart clear as day. That's the only area that I'd maybe be getting this kind of stock. It's very comparable, at least, to like an IBM chart, I think, where it hasn't gone anywhere on the monthlies in a long time. So that WDC chart, the last time where this run actually happened was in 2013. So you're back at prices that were trading also in 2010 and 2009.
You ain't fading, you ain't trading.
Yeah, it seems like one of those brands that isn't going anywhere anytime soon.
Look at the money they're projected to lose.
Yeah, their EBITDA
we're going to buy this up 13% because they're going to split up into two companies here this morning. Hey, people, it's not 2020 anymore. It's 2023, and this company is projected to lose a lot of money here in the short term. Man, 11% pop in this is a hell of a gift.
Wasn't that one joker? Was it Peltz or who was it that had this idea at like $100 that the true value was like 230 or something? Yeah, remember that? Who was the big activist?
Your memory. I'm the goldfish memory. 6 seconds.
Help me out. Jay will remember. Come on.
Yeah, I don't
Jay
remember.
Will remember.
Joel remembers a lot of stuff, but then he sometimes confuses, his dreams with reality here too. He's getting older here, a little bit of senile. So
no, I'm telling you, there was a big.
Teasing him.
This is what I'd point to, man. That 34%.
Now you guys are going to make me go look it up.
Well, he's usually right.
He actually does have a really good memory. I hope my memory is that good when I'm 80 years old.
Just look at this, guys. Revenue growth for 1 year down negative 34.45%.
Elliot.
That's all I need.
We're building the case to short the stock here. We're building the case.
Elliot.
Sold to anyone who wants to buy 43.52, in my opinion.
June of 22. Elliot.
There you go.
There you go. Right here. He said,
"Is that Elliot's in there?" Okay, yeah. Elliot, sold to you, Elliot. I don't want anything of this.
Yeah, why would I want this company? Like, they're not making money. They're not expected to make money, and their growth is pretty atrocious.
No, thank you.
I'm with you. No, thank you. No, thank you, man.
No, thank you. I'm with you, Money Mitch.
Thank you. All right, let's get to those earnings stocks this week. What's on your radar, guys? Of course, tomorrow, AMD. Before Apple. I know that you're looking at Apple.
I'm looking at your calendar here tonight. Pin interest, as Joel says it. I love that. Pfizer. Wow, Pfizer's been an epic disaster in my long-term portfolio. Caterpillar, AMD is always interesting. I still have a little bit of that.
Industrials have been getting so whacked, and the only thing that's been helping industrials stay up here has been the defensive names. If the defensive names weren't going up, man, the XLI would be in trouble. So that's an interesting report to catch tomorrow at Caterpillar. I mean, that's down big recently. Joel, I don't know if you got that chart up, but
the cat?
Yeah, the cat's been really hit hard lately. I mean, take a look at that, guys.
Big machinery does not get bought during a recession, and that's what I believe is coming in 2024.
And then look at the XLI. The XLI
Deere too.
also
look at
says
Deere breaking down to new lows on the move. Nothing runs like a deer until it runs out of gas.
Or financing. In this case.
They're running out of cash. Not deer, but the customers.
Yeah,
True.
the customers. That's true. And
big machinery, big financing, not financing at 0% anymore, folks. It's not
and then also
Kansas.
inflation had to weigh in on those machines, right? I mean, I'm sure their prices are way higher than they were 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay, yeah, 100%. So I bought my John Deere riding lawnmower.
Yeah.
It's a small one,
I want to see
130 or
Dennis
whatever.
riding it. You gotta take a
130.
picture.
Yeah, anyways, I use it. It's an awesome machine. I paid $2,200 Canadian for that in maybe 7 years ago. That same machine is over $4,000 here now. So it has more than doubled in price, that same machine, over the course of the last, because my dad bought one last year. So more than doubled. I think from 2,200, I think it was 4,600 bucks. So I mean, they've went up, and a lot of that was during COVID times. I think it went from like 3,000, like 4,600, like overnight. So I mean, you know, you can say you're 0%, 1%, 2% inflation all those years. Somehow those machine prices doubled. So it's a lot more money. And I guarantee you, it's not just riding lawnmowers that have doubled in price. A lot of the machinery has probably doubled in price over the course of the last 7 years. Financing is tough. So big machinery, big financing. I don't want to own expensive things that require the customers to get cheap financing, because the cheap financing is no longer there. And that is the stocks that have been hit the hardest.
Yeah, and I wanted to go through some other names that are very similar stories, like Generac, right? I would say very similar story where financing is why it's getting destroyed and can continue going lower.
I'm with you. I should just eat the loss on that and move on, because again, this is just financing. This is a solar company. It's the same thing. Until rates, the only reason to buy Generac, Caterpillar, Deere, home builders, automotive companies, solar companies, the only reason to buy them is if rates start to go lower. Long-term rates start to go lower. TLT starts to rip, roar, rally, and 85 bid, 90 bid, 95 bid. Now we're talking all those stocks, those will rally 3 times harder than the TLT if that happens. But until that happens, there's no reason to own these stocks. People say, why don't you sell it out and then wait for that? Maybe that's the case. Maybe you should. You know, I try to take this longer term horizon where you're buying good companies at reasonable valuations. Generac was a good company at a reasonable valuation until interest rates started to fly up as much as they did. And that's what happened. They lost the long end. And, you know, and obviously that's the story here. That's the story with all these stocks. Generac, all these things.
Yeah, I feel very similar way probably happened in the utility game. But what else was on this radar that you'll be looking, of course?
Just continue the conversation, good from the chat. Show this conversation. The Sask farmer, assuming it's Saskatchewan, Sask farmer. Does that mean you're in Saskatchewan? He says machinery is insane. We farm in virtually every large machine that was 400 to 600,000 in 2018 is now over $1 million.
Yeah, how do they afford this?
Cost of steel, exactly. And people will say, I'll just drive my tractor a little bit longer. I won't get that new combine. I'm not going to get that new excavator because they're too high. This stuff here, even though it's, you know, if you're in business, you know, some of this stuff, you have to own this equipment, but they'll push those equipment, fix up the old equipment a little bit longer to avoid having $1 million bill for buying a new machine.
Looks like we got a former Bright trader out there, Dennis. That's who there was.
Awesome. I got to find out who you are. We get more Sask farmer. He's a former Bright trader. We got to find out who that is.
I knew a few of these Bright always traders. Good. All right.
Those Bright traders are pretty bright, folks. I tell you what, Joel, you know it too. There's so many people. Like, think about back to 1999 when we were at Bright Trading. You look at the successful people that have come out of that business, the day traders, and some of them have launched, you know, trading businesses and different things. But I mean, just, you know, like a lot of very successful people doing different things. Some of them are doing different things now, but a lot of really smart people coming out of Bright Trading. So I love you, Bright traders.
Yeah. And like we talked about it, just to wrap up on that whole heavy machinery, it's not only the cost, it's also the interest rate. So it's 2 negatives, not just 1 negative, I feel like, in this space.
Both. Yeah. Hit them from both sides. Customers cannot afford, a lot of customers cannot afford to go pay $1 million for new machinery in this environment. So that's why I don't want to own CAT. I don't want to do. Now, again, if you have a time horizon of 10 years and some of this stuff, maybe we get back to, where rates start to come to normalize. But if this is the new normal, to Joel's point, and you've made this point multiple times, if this is the new normal, that we're going to have higher rates for longer, and it's going to be 5-6% for the next decade, well, all of a sudden there has to be a repricing of everything to adjust for that, because sales are not going to be as high for this. It's not all of a sudden, it's like all of a sudden we can afford 6%, 8%, 10% financing. People reaching out to me, and it's worse than that. In some cases, the financing on some of these products is above 10% on some of this, some of these toys. I mean, that's hard financing. People don't have that kind of money anymore.
And we've been seeing it in a lot of slowdown. That's why I just want to point to, if we do somehow see a downturn in these defensive names, I would be a little bit concerned about those XLI names, because this is the only thing I see that's holding it up, even though it's not really holding it up. You can see it in the XLI.
The best investment, the best thing investors have done here over the course of the last few months is if you're just sitting back in cash and just watching what happens. It's been best to be on the sidelines here. I mean, we can find diamonds in the rough. People could say, well, Bitcoin, what about Bitcoin? There's always something going up. And again, I think Bitcoin, and I've said this, in recent times here, I actually like the Bitcoin. I think it sets up well here. I am long some Bitcoin. I think that's got its own bull market going on because of the weakness that we're seeing in the capital markets. So I think it's actually benefiting from the weakness in the banks. I think it's actually benefiting, obviously, the ETF. This is what's, driving the bus here too. The two main drivers, ETF and bank weakness. But the capital markets, being weak, this was why Bitcoin was created, for weakness in the financial markets. And I think, there is a case there for Bitcoin. I don't know if it's a long-term case, but it sure is in the short term a case. And that's what continues to drive Bitcoin. But there's always a bull market somewhere, as somebody says. I don't know who that is.
I don't know.
We know.
I don't know if I believe him that often, but
I don't know if I believe him at all sometimes. But there's always a bull market somewhere. He's right on that.
Yeah, he is right about that. We'll see if Mara fills that gap. That's one that I'll put on the radar.
I think buying these. Let's talk Bitcoin for just a split second.
All right, you want to take a quick look at
some
those?
of these Bitcoin stocks?
Mara seems like one of the ones that are interesting for me, because it has a gap that it just filled.
Yeah.
Look at the gap on the daily that it just filled, and it got away of a little bit of the hypeness last week. These are the times where I let the hype traders kind of burn out, and then we can maybe come after it.
Buy Bitcoin if you want to own Bitcoin. I mean, this is something we've talked about, for years.
It's hard to trade, though.
Yeah, just don't trade it. Make it an investment. I mean, the relative performance on these things. I mean, Mara. I mean, I can't even think of all the other ones. But the only thing I'd caution you guys about with this Bitcoin is this is all based on like the ETF and the ETF getting approved. So I've seen.
I know. If it doesn't, if they all of a sudden say no, we're not doing it, there could be an overnight 15% fall. A lot of these names, like boom. So there is risk, Joel. It's a good point. There is risk.
Yep. And this is all coinciding with Bankman Free. I mean, and then I saw the other day that Binance was having problems with withdrawals and stuff. I mean, it's not, and Dennis, you mentioned about it, as far as the security and, SIPC insured. So, if you're comfortable with your little wallet and your whatever thing's doing it, but, there's always risk, right? Always risking everything. S&P's leaking a little bit.
Yes,
couldn't even really get it. Really couldn't even get it to the open here so far. We're just a slow leak here, unfortunately.
All right. Of course, we have some more earnings, but we'll take a look really quickly here. AMD in the tomorrow night, definitely going to be something to catch there. What do you guys think about AMD going into this? I know, Dennis, you've had it for a little while now. What do you feel about it?
Yeah, sold half of it at 110. Obviously, wish I would have sold it all. I have a little bit left in my kid's RESP account. That's like the education fund, like in Ontario. If you don't know what RESP, it's Registered Education, stands for something. I don't know what the hell it stands for. Anyways, he put money in there and the government matches the ends for their university. I put a little bit of AMD in there because they're at least 10 years away from university. And I think AMD will be higher 10 years from now. It's come all the way back down to where I bought it. I originally bought it at 95, ran to 130. Sold half of it. I believe like 112. I sold half. Wish I would have got higher, but I didn't. And then, I've still got a little bit left in that RESP.
97.50. Keep an eye on that if you're looking for continued upside. That splits the highs in the last two sessions. Probably, maybe, I don't know. It had a tight range on Friday, inside day. Yesterday's low 94.59. But I like this 97.50 number, not only for today, but moving forward, two highs in the same area. I guess I don't know how this relates to ON, but ON is getting the beats, and Nvidia hasn't been all that perky. I mean, that's $100 off its highs. So definitely a lot of negative things working against it going into the report. But then you'll have Lisa Su on with Kramer and talking about all the good stuff. So we'll see how AMD plays out.
All right. And then, of course, you get Airbnb and Qualcomm on Wednesday. Qualcomm will give us a nice little look into how the business outlook is. Airbnb will be something definitely to kind of keep an eye out to see if we start seeing the slowdown hit in the consumer. It's been on a big pullback as of late. Can Airbnb catch a little bit of some love before this report?
When stocks get added to the S&P, they're good long-term sales. At least in bear markets. I mean, that was the pop. The 130 to the 150 was just ridiculous. Out of the S&P, and we tacked on 15% of market cap. That is all gone and more. That was the selling opportunity. I was long Airbnb at one time. I actually got out of this one really well. I think I took this from like 110 to like 145. So it was a great trade for me. I had it in the longer term account for about 2 months. Have not rebought it. People asking me, will I rebuy my Airbnb? At a certain point in time, yes, but this is not the time. I think we just got to like sit back and just get more information and wait for a bond rally before we start just backing up the truck buying stocks.
And then, of course, Apple's report will come in on Thursday. What are you guys feeling for Apple? Is this the time to maybe get it ahead of the report, or do you feel that you're trying to push into the luck if you're trying to call it here early?
Well, we called it short at 180. That worked out. It's 168. Would I take it short in the report? No, I don't. If you got a trade on, you're up $12 in it. I think you're ringing the register ahead of the report. Can always have the run, like you said, as a small event here tonight. Do I think the upgrade cycle is going to be, a whimper? No, I think it'll be good. I think they'll still have decent numbers. I think the guidance will be fine here. It's just a matter of response. I mean, the Magnificent Seven out of the 5 we've had so far, Joel, all the earnings were pretty good. It's just the response was kind of mixed. Some were good. Some were like, not as good. So I just can't pay. Again, I'm just going to go back to valuation for me here. I just don't want to pay 28 times for earnings. But one thing Apple does have going for it is that, you know what? Yes, they're consumers, but maybe can't afford to upgrade as much because they're tough. But people want iPhones, and it's like the small luxury item that people aren't willing to give up. They're not willing to give up. This isn't a $100,000 truck. This isn't a $1 million piece of Caterpillar machinery. This is a $1,500 phone. Yeah. If people are struggling, they still find their money. You can look to somebody who can't even make the bills, but these people upgrade their phones.
Yeah, the interest rates don't affect it as much, right? Interest rates don't affect it as much. That's just what 100%.
It is. 100%. Apple has hardly no debt. And yes, a lot of their customers still, with all the deals through the phone companies and stuff, they have 0% financing. Yeah. Even with the upgrade that my wife did on the Rogers phone, it was 0% financing for 24 months on the phone. So it's small enough ticket and there's big enough margins that they can still offer 0% financing on the phones. And that makes a difference, folks.
Did you do that?
Or, why not? Yeah. It's 0%. Why not? You could buy it outright, or you could do 0% for 24 months. I'm like, well, do the 0%. Why? I keep it more of the money.
I know.
You did it too, Joel?
I walked out. I go, what was it? 14, 15, 1600? She goes, no, I did the financing plan. I'm like, what? And then,
it's 0%.
I mean, why not? I mean,
why not?
Why not?
Yeah, this is the clear case of why the phone companies keep being able to sell these phones, right? Is that they can sell them at 0% interest rate on financing. And I mean, who isn't going to take that deal?
And this is why Apple, like people say, why doesn't Apple get killed? We've been killed in the bear market here. Well, there's a big reason here. It does trade at an extreme valuation. If this thing was trading 20 times earnings, I'd be buying the stock. But it's not. It's still too expensive for me. That's the whole thing. But have it on your shopping list here, folks, because this is a luxury item that people, Apple's still a fantastic company here. And these are the diamonds in the rough that when they go down, eventually will want to own. Apple's a big part of everything here. So, I've talked bearish on Apple for a long time, but the whole reason that these stocks have held up a lot better than the other ones is interest rates don't impact them, not nearly as much.
The other thing I wanted to say about one other thing to say about Apple. What have they done like an event this close to earnings before?
It's a small event though. This isn't the main
Okay.
event here. Mitch
Yeah,
just
it's not their main
highlighting.
event.
Yeah.
It's just for one product, so that's
Yeah.
the key here. And you shouldn't see like maybe new chips, but maybe new chips in these Macs will be the mention. So that's one thing that I would be looking for. And then also pricing, right? Pricing will be important to kind of take a look at that. Is it a higher price, lower price? I'll be looking into that. And of course, it'll come tonight, right? So that should probably be affecting the stock more tomorrow if it's 8 p.m. Eastern. Right, Dennis? So I think that's something to look forward to.
Yeah.
We'll
and
see
I don't
if
think
maybe
it's
we
going
get
to
a
be
run
much of
into
an
the
effect
number.
here. It's a pretty small. What is it? It's for the iPads or laptop?
Yeah,
what did you say?
new iPad, I think. Yep.
Yeah, the computers. It could be laptops. I think that gets mentioned also in there.
Yeah.
Now, one thing to mention is that Apple has retraced 61.8% of its recent run, and that's from pretty much March to the top there of that 198.23. So that price comes into play around the 167. We've retraced far enough. Will we break through this next layer? Because I feel like this is the last hurrah for the bulls to maybe find a pullback area. Let's get to the last outlook. Let's do a little bit of some stocks from the chat because what are you guys taking
Ticker
a look
time.
at?
2 minutes.
We
ticker
have
time. Let's go.
2 minutes ticker time here. We'll see what happens with these. And is there anything on your radar out there, guys? I can at least say that I was looking to see if finally some retail trades would make a lift. That's been a battle to see that. Here we go. We're getting some names in here. Let's take a look and we'll run through it quickly. Palantir, what do you think?
I haven't talked and looked at it for a long time. It's come back down here. It is an AI story. It would be on my shopping list here. You do have good support, this 14 to 15 area here. So actually, this is one. And again, I've never really looked at this from, the debt. And I know that they're not making a ton of money here. But the AI story is going to eventually get hot here again. It's going to be stocks like this that turn around. So would I have Palantir on my shopping list? I would. I'm just not in the buy-in mood yet. I mean, I want to see a turnaround here. I want to see rates start going. And again, maybe rates don't affect this as much. Long-term debt looks like, is that right? It's zero? They don't have any debt? Is that correct? It says zero and zero. And no, I'm looking. Sorry, I'm wrong. Wrong stock. I'm just looking here.
$14.80 to $15 area. That's just
no, it is.
A real
it's
good
zero.
area. Is it really? Yep.
I don't know if that's right though. But it says long-term debt is zero. Can we get anybody in the chat verify that Palantir has zero debt? It's pretty impressive, actually, if that's true.
Got a little bit of the war boost and gave it back. I don't know, just not sure about the fundamentals. I just don't like the way it peaked in August at 20. And that's when everyone said, oh, man, you got to own the stock and to pull back. And then you made a lower high on the move by almost $2. So technically not looking great as far as the lower high on the move, but you're coming into an area of pretty good support between 1480
14
and 15.
Shopping list. I'm putting it on my shopping list again. Maybe we're not in the environment where it's been good to buy stocks, but I think this is one on your shopping list. And no debt. Chad has confirmed it. They don't have any debt. That's good news, man. That's impressive.
I'm going to go against that just because I feel like this company has more hype in AI than real use in AI. But hey, we'll see what happens, right? There's always two sides of the coin, guys. Let's do one more name. Here's an interesting name that's been bouncing off the bottom, has been absolutely wrecked. Chewy.
I have not looked at Chewy in a long time.
I know. That's why it's an interesting.
I
knew this was going to surprise you. I knew this was going to surprise
you. Nobody wants to buy online dog food anymore. $120. I've joked in the past that this is pets.com part 2, partially joking, but I'm not like the stock. Wow.
You're below IPOs and you're below any
This is a
low.
new all-time
this
low.
Is all-time lows, yeah.
Pets.com part 2, folks.
May 1850. I'd keep an eye on that. Just before you had the last major leg lower, that was good resistance. So I look at that 1850, trading up a little bit in the pre-market. Above that, look at, it can have some up days. Look at all the down days that it had here. a major losing streak. So it's been up and down the last few days. So I'd say the complexion of the market would change if the bulls could get it above 1850 and sustain a bit above 1850. I'll tell you, I know you're saying a lot of people use them. We get a package there at least 2-3 times a week. So I don't know what they have, or at least I can't get it
I
somewhere
know
else.
you.
But
Yeah, you use Chewy. I don't know.
I
I
don't
guess a
know.
lot of people use Chewy. I guess but a lot of people, obviously, not enough people use Chewy. The stock would do better.
Yeah,
Obviously, yep.
yeah, it's something interesting at least. I see too many people use it, but the stock's not going up, so that tells me enough.
And that guy, who's the guy that is it that Joker that did the
Cohen,
GameStop? Yeah,
I
the
think he's out.
GameStop.
I think he's out. I think he sold
He's
his
out of the
position.
company. I mean,
He doesn't
now
own
he's
any
ready.
Chewy.
I think
He
he sold
started
out.
Chewy. He founded it. He doesn't own any of it.
I think he
Is that
sold
right?
out from what I think. Chat will go ahead and confirm this, but
I know he doesn't run the company. Ryan Cohen, you're talking about. I don't know if he
yeah,
runs
I don't
the
think
company.
he,
He must
I
still
don't think
own
he
some
has any
stock. He
exposure
founded
anymore.
it.
I think he sold it, but I think he sold all his.
You think he sold all his shares? Does
Yeah,
he
all
own any
his-
Chewy?
at least from my understanding, that's what happened there. But
No, you're right. He sold it to PetSmart.
you see, guys. Sometimes Money Mitch catches things.
VC Partners, private equity firm, purchased by PetSmart. Chewy.
All right, guys.
Wow.
Sold to you.
Yeah, sold to you.
Man,
exactly.
that guy, he sells. That guy sells right at the top on everything. Bed Bath and Beyond, Chewy. Well, maybe not GameStop.
He
but
might have
maybe
a
he did
good
sell GameStop. Who
whoever
knows?
consults him.
Is he in jail yet? Did they prosecute him yet? I know he's under investigation. That's
Who,
a joke,
Milton?
But he is under investigation.
Who, Milton?
is. How is old GME doing?
Where is
Wait a minute,
GME? That was your baby,
forget-
Joel.
forget
That was
me-
the best. That
forget
must have been the best
GME.
stock you ever traded, man.
It's all
You
about the
took that from like
Nikola.
$5 to 100 or 300, didn't you?
It was well, they split adjusted now. No, I think it was under it was in single digits, and the only reason that I sold it is because I didn't want to say I owned it on the show anymore.
And I
And,
screamed at you to sell
yeah.
it. Like I was like screaming, sell, please sell, Joel. I want to go into your account, break into your account, and sell the stock for you. I
It
was
was back
so, and
there.
actually you sold almost near the top.
It was
Where did you
old time.
sell?
I don't even. It was like whatever the old time closing high
That day.
price was.
You sold
that
on the
day?
all-time. Yeah.
Yeah, it was old time closing high price. I think it was like around 345. But actually, the next day, like after we sold it, it traded up like to 600 in the pre-market, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have sold
I'm
it.
gonna kill Dennis.
That was a tough one. All right,
But then it
I'm gonna-
never traded out, and then it collapsed from there. So you thank me now. He still
Yep.
hates me for lithium, though.
all right, this is what we got to do, and I'm not gonna give a day perspective. I'm gonna give a weekly perspective, and I'm gonna speak the whole week. We got to take out Friday's high and keep a bid there, and that's it right at 41.85. If not, the bulls are still in firm control. So
The Bulls.
or the Bears. If we can't get another 20 handles higher today or sometime during the week and hold the bid, then I think you just drift towards 4,100 and maybe 4,000. So that's my
Apple's gonna
number.
drive the bus Thursday.
Yeah,
night.
definitely.
Apple will be
so.
driving the bus. What about PayPal Wednesday? We didn't give them any love, and I know we have to go, but holy
PayPal.
mackerel! You see
I don't
PayPal
want that,
lately?
man.
Joel laughed. He just left.
It's like
But do you see
Square.
PayPal?
Don't touch those things, man. Those are
Square,
falling knives.
PayPal, they just don't stop going down. Like, is that an all-time? Like, where did Square? Like, what's the low in Square? It's a long time since it's been down here. Okay, so
Yeah.
$32
There
back
you
in
go.
2020. So obviously it was lower than
We're
that. It was
back in
$8, I guess.
2017.
Yeah, it was $8. But the COVID low, $32 is in play here now. I mean, what a fall from grace here too. Holy! If Twitter was publicly traded, Mitch, this is what the Twitter chart would look like if it was publicly traded. It'd be like $5 right now. Poor Elon
I mean,
Musk.
this is not where you want to be, right? There's so much competition that stepped in here, right, in the recent years, and I think that's what you need to be looking out for. Do certain companies have a competitive advantage and now are losing that competitive advantage? I'll tell you the truth, Dennis, and I'm working on a new video, and a lot of that is, I think the competitive advantage for Tesla is done. I don't think it ever comes
You got
back.
the hate on for Tesla.
I don't think it ever comes
I love
back
Tesla.
to that.
I've never owned it because I just can't handle the valuation, but it's been a mistake. So
I think that you'll never see this again. 400. I think so. Stay tuned,
I don't know.
guys.
I believe in Elon Musk, though. I'm a Musk believer here. Tesla is on my shopping list, but my price is a lot lower.
I mean, Elon is a genius, but unless he creates some crazy innovation, the margins are just going to look like this. A falling rock on the margins. It'll be a continuous move to margins going lower and lower.
You know what the biggest problem with owning Tesla is that when Musk creates some crazy new innovations, it goes into another company. It's like this guy innovates things, but he doesn't get any of the SpaceX. He's got this. He just forms another company. So I don't know, like, if Tesla's going to benefit from his next huge creation, which is imminent. He will come up. He's a genius. He will come up with something else. He does everything better than everybody else. It's just a matter of whether he keeps that in Tesla or he's doing it somewhere else. That's the biggest risk to Teslas, though, is that he comes up with some huge creations outside of cars and it doesn't go into Tesla. That's the risk.
Yeah, that is the risk. We'll see what happens with Cybertrucks expected to be delivered in this month, November. Stay tuned for that, right? All right, guys, keep up with Dennis Dick, of course, Triple D Trader. Have a good one, my friend. Go see what you can come up with today. All right, let's see what happens. Of course, coming up next, you'll have live trading that will be, of course, starting their trading competition. Who wants to join an absolute free trading competition where you could win potentially a buying power of 620,000? We'll catch that on live trading. That's coming up next. The competition starts today. Don't miss it. I see you guys in the chat talking about it. Let's get over there. I don't know about you guys, but I want to get after the trading action. So definitely smash the like out there, team. We'll bring you over to the live trading competition. That's starting up next. Don't go anywhere.